Are you tired of watching shows that only give you general social media theory and expect you to figure out how to apply it to your own industry? Join us for this week's episode of Social Chatter, the industry's longest-running social media marketing news talk show. Not only will you learn the latest breaking news, but you'll also gain practical advice on how to apply it. Now here's your host, Christian Karasevich.
Hey there, everyone. Welcome to episode 252 of Social Chatter, your weekly social media marketing news talk show. This week, we've got a lot of great topics that we want to discuss with you. We're particularly going to focus on Instagram. They have a new shop feature that will make it easier for people to discover and buy from the Instagram platform. And in addition to that, we're also going to talk monetization, specifically YouTube monetization. I know a lot of people have a YouTube channel. They may have been grandfathered in, for example, under the original YouTube plan where anyone could start a channel and start monetizing. I know YouTube over the years has changed the way this works to where now you have to have 1,000 subscribers and 4,000 hours of watch time. Wow, that seems like quite a lot of content to get people to watch in order to get monetization. And at that, you won't get a lot of monetization to begin with necessarily. In addition to that, we're going to talk TikTok, but we also have our guest this week. We have Kevin Kolbe, and I hope I said that right, but we have Kevin on. Kevin is big into video. I know he does a lot with Final Cut Pro and a lot of professional nonlinear editing software, the NLE software, but we're going to talk with him, have him share some tips with you on picking the right equipment. If you're a business, what kinds of videos should you be creating? But first, I want to bring on my co-host, Jim Fuhs. Jim, great having you back.
Great to be back, Christian. How are you doing today?
Doing great, actually.
Yeah.
And I know we've had a busy week, right?
Yeah,
we
recorded some episodes, and actually, if you're looking at your favorite podcast player, you should see episode 15 of Launch Your Live, 9 ways to find guests for your live video show, which is probably one of the ways you used to bring our guest to today, Kevin Kolbe from Raleigh, North Carolina, which is not too far from my old, I guess I call them stomping grounds of Swansboro, North Carolina. So looking forward to learning more about some of the great knowledge that Kevin has, because he's got quite the background.
Definitely, and I'm going to bring him on and have him tell everybody a little bit about himself. Kevin, great having you join us on Social Chatter. Thank you.
Hey, I'm like I said in the chat, I am pumped to be here. I actually put in extra day conditioner just for this, but it's kind of humid here. It's not working.
Right.
I gotta say, I like your the quality of your video camera.
Thank you.
Got going on. I mean, I'm using the Logitech Brio. Jim, I think you're using the new Logitech Stream Cam. Yep. What camera are you using, Kevin?
I'm using my Canon M50.
Fantastic.
Except for maybe one camera, all my cameras have been Canon, which sounds like a country song, but it's true. And I use StreamYard, I use Ecamm, and now with the new Canon, what is it? The
webcam utility
beta. Yeah, I'm actually just plugged into this with a USB cord. That's it.
Wow. Fantastic. And that's great because it means, because you're using a DSLR, is that mirrorless, I think, right?
It is mirrorless. Yeah.
So because you're using something like that, if people wanted to go plug that kind of camera into their laptop, they did have to have a capture card, which would typically be an additional, a couple $100. You want to make sure you get a good capture card, right? A couple $100 usually.
Yeah. I tried the Elgato a couple of times and I couldn't get it to work. I think honestly it was operator error for the first 2 I sent back. I have a one called a Pingo, which is cheaper. It does the same thing, right. But what's nice about, the M50 doesn't have what's called a clean HDMI out, which just means that without it, you would see all the face tracking. Like right now on my monitor, it's tracking my face. Right. But with this new free app from Canon, it makes it a clean feed. And so like StreamYard picks it up and it just, it gives me that, professional look, if you will, despite all this.
So in particular, like feature wise, it's the background, the blurred background, it's the bokeh effect.
Yeah.
Does that.
Now, and part of that too is that I have a Sigma 16 millimeter lens on here, which has quickly become my absolute favorite lens because my office is not that big. In fact, I just moved up into this room in our house a couple of weeks ago and haven't even got everything put up. But that added to it. And then I also keep my camera on 24 frames. I'm just a big 24 frame guy. And so I choose to stream in that and shoot in that, which just gives it a slightly different look, also called cinematic. So little tweaks like that you can make.
Nice. And the part I really like the most, I guess, about that is the fact that, a lot of people, they buy a DSLR camera, they use it to just shoot some photos, for example, and now everybody's getting into wanting to use it for live video.
Yep.
And it doesn't usually work, in that case. They have to buy, like what you talked about earlier, they have to buy capture cards and all sorts of other things to get it to even work out the box. So I like that now you're able to do that, and it looks great. Jim, do you want to say something?
Yeah, no, I was just going to say, what Kevin's doing is really kind of like the next step after live streaming cameras, right? Get away from that desktop built into your computer camera, go to the webcam. And then I definitely like when I grow up, I hope to be like Kevin and get a nice camera that I can put into my
shoot higher. Shoot higher. But I will say though that, and it's very easy to go down the gear hole. It's like, oh man, I've got everything I need. Oh, look at that. Oh, look at that.
Yes.
Look at that. Squirrel.
And which is bad for me. I have a window. But anyway, the FaceTime camera on laptops, it's not good. But if that's all you've got, then don't let it stop you from making videos because, well, I'd make a video, but I just don't have the right camera.
Right. I don't have the $5,000 for the gear.
I consider my iPhone one of my cameras, and it's an 8 Plus.
And we're actually we're gonna talk about that a little bit later. A way that you can actually use your iPhone as a webcam.
That was a tease.
That was a tease. That's right. During tool time.
Tool time.
So Jim, you ready to kick things off?
Yeah, let's go. So you want me to share the screen for this, right? That was
I'll pull this one up actually. So what's the first topic we're going to talk about?
We're going to talk about Instagram shops.
So what do we have? Instagram shops. So what is this?
So they're actually rolling out. It's going to have it has its own little tab in the Instagram app. But for you as a business owner, if you're selling products, I don't think they're letting you do it with services yet. You basically can put, post a picture, I think maybe even like a short video of something you have, and there'll be like this thing that looks like a little shopping bag on the post. And when they click it, it will take them to the item in your website ready to buy. Okay. So it's just a great way to seamlessly allow people to purchase from within the app and, really help a lot of these small businesses that, maybe they've even struggled in the sense with having a good website. Like, hey, I can drive traffic to this item that I specifically want to get sold and get sold quickly. The other piece of this that's going to happen is they're going to be rolling out Facebook Pay. And the other, so you can, I think they maybe are changing it because, now you can have an Instagram business account, or it's in the works. You can have a business account without a Facebook business page. In the past, it was like you couldn't have one without the other. And so you had to get that Facebook shop first in order to get an Instagram shop. So that's another, big change, but I think it's a great feature. I start thinking I might have to create some t-shirts or something just to see if, people will buy them and can make a couple bucks.
That's a good idea.
I think it's really a good, it's a good step. I think one of the things, Christian, like you and I have talked about is this kind of, and Kevin, I'd be interested to hear your thoughts. Do you think that Facebook and Instagram at some point will just become one app and we won't have one or the other? Or do you think it'll kind of stay separate?
I would like it to be, just because that's one less app I have to remember to go and check out and use. So from an extremely lazy user, which maybe that's a hashtag I should adapt. I don't know. Do I want a trend under that? I'm not sure.
Right, that's right.
I think it would make sense, but at the same time, they have two different models, and we know that not everybody that's on Instagram is going to mess with Facebook or vice versa, and so as long as they've got the revenue stream, because they're a business and they keep doing these features and they keep going after, we'll copy something we like over here if we can't buy it. I don't know what would be the benefit of them ever combining it.
Right. Yeah, because I have heard they're starting to roll out hashtags with Facebook where you can actually use them. Started to play with that a little bit, but I think to me the biggest dynamic why maybe I still like Instagram is if I go on the Instagram feed, I'm not having to worry about politics and people complaining. I mean, because I'm just seeing pictures and videos. Like for me, because I had a pug, I'm always getting like suggested pug videos and pug pictures. So it's always a happy place for me.
Yeah. So my question though, back to you guys is though, what do you think about IGTV though? Because as much as I think Facebook has done some incredible stuff, I love Facebook and I like Instagram. But IGTV, I mean, do you guys use it? Do you see it sticking around? I mean, they keep pushing it and pushing it.
That's a really good question, Kevin. I was one of like the early adopters, and I did like 9 episodes when it first came out, was all excited. And I got a little bit of viewership, but then it was kind of like, I would teach classes, North Carolina and some community colleges, like, who's heard of Instagram TV? And it was like, maybe, 10% of the class. And I think even if you asked it now, people would probably say, what's that? Yeah. So sometimes it gets into this, my opinion. I think Christian and I, it's kind of like maybe a running joke is like, as Facebook attempts to be all things to all people, including Instagram, well, we want to be like YouTube. So let's create this video platform. And it's just never taken off because I'm just going to go to YouTube. It's just easier. So I don't know. It's a good question.
I will say this. I mean, I don't use IGTV as much, but I also think if I were Instagram, what I would actually do is I would borrow a lot from YouTube, obviously, like the monetization aspect, trying to get those videos surfaced in Google search, which that's going to be very hard, obviously. But I also could see Instagram even copying Amazon Live, which is a new platform where people can basically do like a QVC show based off of what is on Amazon. Now, I realize that might not fit necessarily within what IGTV really is supposed to be about, but if the goal, here's the thing, people only use for the most part, most people just use the platforms because they want to make sales. They want to drive, they want to make money, and they don't really care about the platform in a sense. They really care. It's, it's about where your users are at. And so I think that while IGTV has a place, I think that a lot of people, I mean, again, there's only so much time in the day. And so they can't be on Instagram, on IGTV. They can't be posting on, like you said earlier, it's one less app. They can't be on Facebook and Instagram and IGTV and YouTube TV. And YouTube and doing Facebook Live. Like there's simply just too much. There's too many. It's almost like it's like going to a buffet at a restaurant. You have too many choices. Like, yes, everything looks great, but you've got too much. And what you end up doing is you end up overeating or over consuming. Yeah. Or overworking yourself.
Are there still buffets at restaurants?
I mean, pre-COVID.
Yeah.
Do what?
That's why I stopped going to Golden Corral.
Right.
Yeah. So
I'd always gain weight.
That's my take. I mean, on this, I like the fact that they're doing this. They're making it easier for people to shop. They're trying to make you go through the Facebook Pay option to check out. I think the integration makes a lot of sense because it also for Facebook, it is a lot easier because Facebook doesn't have as much to manage if they get everybody on the same system, on the same essential platform that's all probably maintained by the same back end. But I like the fact that Instagram is finally launching a shop feature. Now let's just ask, I mean, it's just the three of us, but we'll ask us and then we'll see what our viewers are saying as well. But do you all actually shop from Instagram at all? Like, has anybody made a purchase on there? I know I haven't. How about you, Jim?
I haven't because I'm afraid that I might like spend too much money. Have I been tempted? Temptation's definitely been there. But it's kind of like, Pinterest, right? I don't get on Pinterest, but so I don't tell my wife that Instagram has a shopping feature because fortunately she doesn't realize that there's all these things she could be buying. So I don't tell her that because she does shop off of Pinterest sometimes. But Nancy's got a good comment too in the comments on the YouTube feed here about IGTV, and it's good extension of the news feed and stories, but not as much as a standalone. And I think that's a great point by Nancy. And it's good to see you, Nancy. I know we're not seeing you in person.
Thank you, Nancy.
But thanks for joining us. So I do think that it kind of goes back to, and I think Kevin brings up a great point. It's kind of like, if anything, maybe you repurpose some of your YouTube videos, take a clip out it, put it in IGTV, and say, hey, to watch the rest, go to the link in my bio, and that's where you have like the tool I use, Metricool, where you can go straight to my YouTube channel. So it becomes kind of a redirect to get people where you want them. But I think the problem in general is that you hit on it. They have too much stuff going on. And let's not forget, we talked about this a little bit last week. They've got a new feature coming out. I mean, I guess I'll say next week, but definitely next month. Instagram Reels.
Yeah.
Which is going to be, I guess, the competition to TikTok. I don't know. So I guess I have to get my dance moves on and start dancing on my Instagram channel. I don't know. I mean, what do you think of that, Kevin?
Well, it doesn't surprise me that, if we can't buy it, let's just copy it. I mean, Instagram stories was copied off of Snapchat. And the irony is too, talking about, would Facebook and Instagram merge? I mean, stories on Instagram are huge and they're still just kind of puttering on Facebook. I mean, I think that's why in the design they did earlier in the year, when you go to mobile, it's right there. When you go to desktop, it's right there. And I will still talk to people that are like, oh, they have stories, because they just don't think about that.
Right.
But to me, Reels makes sense. It makes a lot of sense. I want to touch on something about the adding the shop though to Instagram and why I honestly think it's brilliant. I haven't bought anything off Instagram. I drank the Amazon Kool-Aid a long time ago.
Yeah.
In fact, I've actually hugged the Amazon person before COVID when they, delivered the stuff. I was just so happy to see them. I was like a little kid at the window. And I'm not making that up. But anyway, I think, I just saw an article today that, who was it? Walmart has announced they're not going to open on Thanksgiving. And then immediately Target announced that, Dick's Sporting Goods, Best Buy. I think retail has realized now with everything going on, it's going to be tough. So when you've got a giant like Instagram that's backed by Facebook, hey guys, let's make it easier to buy on our platform and then allow people to sell there. And Jimmy, you even mentioned like maybe I'll make some T-shirts. I mean, there's tools you can do like Teespring. Just make it so easy to set up a T-shirt shop for nothing.
Right.
So I think it's a brilliant move and perfectly timed, just because of where we are in the economy in the world right now. So yeah, it doesn't surprise me that they're coming out with Reels. I personally think if they don't launch it like they did IGTV, they'll have something that I think will be just as good as TikTok, because they've got the revenue model already in place. They've got the integration. They've got the platform. They've got the money. And I think it could easily, I don't know if it, will overtake TikTok anytime soon, but I think it will be a more viable platform for creators that want to create and monetize, and for ultimately people that just want to watch and be integrated with this other stuff.
Well, and I think you bring up a great point, Kevin, because first of all, I want to say that I think there's over 1 billion people on Instagram now. I mean, it was one of the fastest growing platforms before TikTok came along. But I think there's still a bunch of us, myself included, that we've been hesitant to jump into TikTok because other than doing, this video stuff and I, it's like, how does that really make sense for my business when you look at the age demographic? But when you look at the demographics on Instagram and the fact that people are already comfortable with it, And what's funny, right? Even though it's owned by Facebook, it doesn't always come across as like, oh, all my data is being compromised and all these other things. It's like it's owned by the same company, but nobody's figured that out yet. So I think that's another thing where I think that's an advantage to Instagram, and it will be very interesting, as you've said, to see how they roll out Reels. Will it get that embraced? I mean, what do you think, Christian?
I think that if they roll out, so they're rolling out the shop feature, they roll out Reels in August. We talked about that last week. I think that Reels then has the ability to tie into the shop piece as well. I could easily see them making something, because then you have different kinds of content. You've got the Instagram platform where people can go in and do their standard posts and whatnot. You have IGTV where they could potentially then drive somebody back to make a shop purchase. And then you've also got the Reels feature, which that's more, I want to say gimmicky, I guess, maybe. It's gimmicky because, hey, it's the cool thing to do right now. If TikTok, for example, is that big thing, and Instagram Reels is taking that over, trying to at least, then I think that all of that drives directly into the shop feature, and it makes it easy for people to see that, it's not just post on Facebook like you normally do. It's, hey, I have 3 different types of content I can post on it, or 3 different ways that I can post on Instagram. And I think that's a lot more clear to the user. I hope it is, at least. So,
yeah.
But yeah, so we'll see. That's the Instagram shop feature. Another little update, by the way, about that is if you go to Instagram.com/shop, they're also going to be making sure that channel is where they're going to try to curate different content, for example, that people can purchase. So they're going to have collections and products and from brands and creators and whatnot under that channel as well. So it's not just going to be in your feed, but you could go follow the Instagram shop feature, Instagram.com/shop account, and actually get access to some of the other things. So Jen.
Yeah. Well, first I want to thank Scott for actually saying that there's 3 cool dudes on the screen. Thank you, Scott.
I actually didn't see that.
Love Scott.
Scott.
Thanks for popping in, Scott. We will see you next week, by the way.
The only guy I know that actually has to buy a second seat on wherever he travels just for his hair.
That's pretty awesome. So, Jem, where are we going next? We talked Instagram shop. Let's
talk about YouTube's RPM, and we'll explain what that means.
Yes, please do tell people what is YouTube RPM.
So you always gotta love when somebody tweets about something and says they're doing their RPM, and it's like, what is that? Revolutions per minute? What is that with records? But it's revenue per, and I might be saying the butchering word, mil or MILLE, which means per thousand for all of us non-math majors. I was a Marine, so math is a scary thing. So for every 1,000 subscribers you have, they're now going to have a new analytic that shows you how much you're getting after YouTube takes its cut. So your CPM, or cost per mil, which is the bigger number, so your RPM will be less than your CPM, and it'll just make you mad, I guess. But at least they're trying to explain it to you. So this is a new analytic, right? It kind of goes back to, as we see these platforms evolve, they try to give you more analytics, partially, I think, because then if they can get you to stop using third-party tools, the third-party tools go out of business. I think that's their evil plan. So I think it can be great for these creators. But Christian, like you and I were talking about before we came on live, I mean, just to even get to the revenue model, and Kevin, I don't know how much you've been doing. I know you do a lot of video stuff, and I think probably YouTube, but you got to get 1,000 subscribers,
right?
Which doesn't happen overnight.
Nope.
And then you got to get 4,000 hours of views. So basically, you got to have each one of these people watch your stuff for 4 hours. So you better be good.
Yeah. And even in addition to that, by the way, it's a rolling 4,000.
Right.
So you could get to 3,800, 3,900 because you had a good month, and then let's say the next month sucked. It drops, and I'll tell you, it drops significantly. We had the same thing when we were launching the Social Chef's YouTube channel. I got all the subscribers, no problem, and then I got to the watch time. I'm like, great, people were watching, and then I was so close, and it dropped. And then I finally had a big push, which was fantastic. and I got the monetization feature. But then you also want to then be careful how much you use the monetization feature as well.
Yeah.
Because you don't want to over monetize. Because it's like, hey, I got monetization now, but a lot of people tend to just turn it on and they play it right after your video starts and so forth. So
right.
What do you guys think about this? I mean, I love the fact that YouTube is rolling out these kinds of analytics to help you understand your revenue you're generating on YouTube, regardless of whatever amount you're making.
Yeah.
I think that it's good for people to know how that is being calculated. And it's not to say, well, YouTube is, they're stealing. Like, I wouldn't accuse them at all of stealing any money or anything. It's more about, hey, what do you do? Like, how much money are you making per month?
Yeah.
And, is it actually like worth your time? Because a lot of people, I think they go into this thinking that YouTube, they're going to make all this money and, it's a lot of work. What do you guys think?
Yeah, I like the transparency of it, quite honestly.
Yeah.
I'm muting my mic every time I cough. I'm just letting you know.
No, it's okay.
I like the transparency of it. I'm not monetized yet. I'm just a few shy away from 1,000, which I should hit in a day or two. Okay. And watch time is, I think half of what you need or something like that.
Well, Kevin, make sure you share your channel because I know I'll subscribe. I'll give you a couple subscribers.
Thank you. Thank you very much. I have 2 big things planned. When I hit 1,000, I'm going to do a live and a pretty cool giveaway and stuff like that.
Nice.
That because I want to give back to the community, quite honestly.
Yeah.
But I think Christian, I think you're dead on. I think there are too many people that think, oh, I want to make a lot of money, I'll just start a YouTube channel. Mm-hmm. And I think I've seen more videos recently about how much YouTube really paid me for like 1 million views. And it can be a revenue source, but it's probably one of the last on the lists. I think you could probably make more off sponsorships and affiliate marketing and brand deals and for businesses, using it for coaching and consulting and things like that. Is it nice to have? Yeah. But what I like about this, again, I think is the transparency, which they may be getting ahead of what they perceive as issues coming up about, you need to be more transparent about where the money's going and what it's going and stuff like that. But that's just kind of my takeaway on it.
I think that's a great point, Kevin. I mean, and also it's fascinating. Like even looking, like if you look at podcasts and you even looking at YouTube, right? You see like, oh my gosh, I think I've heard, and I don't know the number, 30 million YouTube channels. But how many of these channels end up basically the person does a couple videos and then they quit because I'll never get to 1,000. Yeah. Podcast, Chris Stone, who's helped me and Christian get Launch Your Live started. He's done some presentations where there's about 1 million podcasts, but there's only about, I think, 250,000 of them that have done more than 10 episodes.
Yeah.
So we all get scared of these big numbers, but it's like, unless you get consistent, like I know we all are, it's going to take time to build your audience. And a lot of people want that quick. Oh, I'm going to get on YouTube. I'm going to get 1,000 subscribers, 4,000 views, and I'm going to be rich. So I think it's great that, this whole transparency thing. I absolutely agree with you 100%.
Hey, I've got a buddy that is a woodworker and he can make some amazing things and he's got a day job and, IT and everything, but he wanted to start a YouTube channel. I'm like, do it. And he just sees it as a hobby. He loves to do it. He keeps it kind of DIY. Now he's tasting a little bit of the, if I get to 100, I can get a channel name, which there's nothing wrong with. And he and I have talked offline about, there might even be some ways to get some brand deals, even though you're a small channel, because you have a niche of helping people build and just, how do you hang blinds and how do you do this and stuff like that. So to me, that's the path as opposed to it. I'm going to do this. I'm going to make a lot of money quick and just give me those hacks. Let me keep searching, the 5 things I need to do to get to 1 million views this month. And, by the way, thank you for shouting out my channel. I appreciate that.
You're only 5 away, by the way.
My head. I can tell you that right now.
I can give you 3 at least. So
it's off the table. But if YouTube is a long play, but it can be so satisfying if you take the time, invest in it, learn it, try things. It just can be. But if you're jumping in just like, hey, I'm going to start this channel and just make a lot of money quick, play the stock market. There's probably a better chance if that's your mindset going in. Wouldn't you guys agree?
Absolutely.
Definitely. Here's the thing. I mean, it's like, I think part of it is, and I'm looking forward to talking more with you about this. I think part of it is people have, I don't know if it's a fear of being on camera, but they aren't like, you need to have a strategy for your videos. And it's not to say what you set at the beginning is what it's going to end up being. Yeah. You have to constantly be working the content you're publishing. For example, you might be really good at equipment, for example. So like, do that for a while. See if it actually sticks with your channel. Mix it up. Maybe your channel is, you just talk about equipment, for example, and then you have your other content on your other channels. It's a little different, and you basically have almost like a little bit of a Venn diagram, I guess. It's like, okay, I have a little bit over here, a little bit over here, a little bit over here, and the sweet spot is all that stuff in the middle that overlaps. Yeah. But you do have to commit. I mean, and commit meaning I don't go and buy a whole bunch of gear and just start just start putting out videos. I need to actually think about what I'm going to be publishing and what I can consistently publish, because there are lots of ways you can use YouTube. Like you could make videos and do all the whole editing and all that on it. Or if you want to, you could theoretically just live stream, do YouTube live and do a live video without actually having to do the editing part. So all you need there is a webcam and a microphone and some lights.
Absolutely.
So I don't know. I like this feature. I mean, I got to say, I do like it. The YouTube RPM feature, so that it does give you an idea of what you're actually what you're actually making. Not saying what you're going to generate, because again, generating comes down to engagement on the content. So, but I like the YouTube RPM feature, this new monetization metric. It's in your YouTube analytics dashboard. If anybody has questions on it, just leave them in the comments and we'll get to that. So anything else you want to add about this, or you want to move on to the next topic?
Let's move on.
Okay, what's next?
We're going to talk about I would say right now, our favorite streaming platform, StreamYard. It's got some new updates. So, and I will wait a little bit before you do this screen share so we can show them a couple things. Yeah. So this just got announced on Sunday night. They do a Sunday night town hall. So apparently there's going to be a countdown timer and an ability to add some music. Haven't quite seen that yet. But you're also they have a new folder for video clips, and you can name those clips. And if you want to share my screen, we can kind of show people that, Christian.
Definitely. And is there are there any other changes as well? Like
destinations, right? Destinations. They had already recently with the Pro plan announced 8, but now with the basic, you can go from 2 to 3. So that's really, I think, a big deal for people, because you can go to your Facebook page, you could go to your YouTube channel, and pick your third. Maybe you want to go on Periscope. What I really like, Rob Balasabas has talked about this, is maybe if, like, as an example, if Kevin wanted to get more YouTube subscribers and he's doing it live, he starts out on all 3 channels and says, hey, if you want to really get into the discussion, I'm going to shut these channels off, but come on over to my YouTube channel. Yeah. So I think that's a great way to kind of get people to where you want to get that engagement. And adding that third destination, I think, is really a big deal for people that were maybe debating, do I want to go from the free to the basic plan?
Yeah. And can I throw something out too? And I got to give a shout out to Desiree Martinez for actually tipping me off on this. So I had applied, like, I don't know how many times, to LinkedIn Live, and I always got the very nice form, oh, thank you very much, but it's a very small program and we're still testing this out, and blah, 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 blah. And then she did a video about how you could do, like, it was kind of like a hack in there or something, like through using events. And then she said, oh, great, now I've got to take it down because I realized I actually have access to it. And I messaged her and I said, well, how funny, because I've been trying. And she goes, you ought to check it out. I check it out through StreamYard. All of a sudden, I've got access to LinkedIn Live. So my suggestion to anybody out there, if you've applied, or maybe you've thought about it, or you have applied, you may have access, and maybe they didn't let you know.
If just you didn't get the memo.
It's horrible business, but it's something you might want to check out, because you may have access and you didn't even know it.
Very possible. I mean, I will say this. I like what StreamYard is doing here. And the part I really like is the fact that with a lot of plans, what they will do is they will give you a very limited scope of how you can use the platform. For example, they give you 1, maybe 2 destinations. And I realize every business is in business to make money, hopefully. And for StreamYard, they're taking the high road, I think, which is really good compared to what a lot of other platforms do, which is they try to limit you what you can do at the beginning. So they give you just enough of a taste to where you can see the success. Because, for example, if like live video is tough, where if I just go live on a Facebook page, well, there's all the other Facebook nonsense that goes on that really could limit my audience seeing the content. And if that doesn't work, then I'm going to look at it and say, well, hey, it doesn't work. Oh, live streaming, it's a waste. Like, I'm not going to want to necessarily use the platform. However, if they do give me the ability to go live on at least a number of destinations, knowing that people have more than one channel probably they're going to want to go live on, it's going to help me, I think, really increase that. So I like I'm going to feel more confident is what I'm getting at. I'm going to feel more confident if I can see, hey, well, YouTube actually seems to be working pretty well. Facebook, not so much. Oh, but I also have these other channels. And, and then that might actually encourage me to want to pay for the more expensive plan as opposed to, hey, I did it, didn't work.
And even as an example, this might be something some of these small businesses want to think about, right? So, because sometimes they have a group. So now, as an example, you could go live to your page, live to your group, and go live to your YouTube channel. But actually, if you wanted to make it unlisted, so you can repurpose that content on YouTube, because maybe you don't want that YouTube engagement. And eventually you might find out, you know what? Now I want it to go public when I go live on YouTube. But the fact that you can now get your group involved, and be on 2 different platforms at the same time, I think it's, because the problem, as an example, as we've seen, is Facebook keeps changing. Like, I think I joked with you, Christian. I have the new Facebook on my desktop, but my iPad still lets me use the old Facebook. So I haven't switched back on my desktop, even though sometimes I want to, because there's just features that are missing. But the live producer is just not as user-friendly as just using StreamYard.
Yeah.
And so I think those are things you might want to think about if you're continuing to say, well, I'm just going to go live native on Facebook. You're missing out on a lot of capability to really up what you can give to your audience when you're not using a product like StreamYard.
Definitely. So let's go and demo those examples you were talking about. Is that good, Jim?
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay, so we'll show people. So so tell people what were the ones that were added? Obviously, destinations.
So you've got that destinations, and as you can see here on the right hand side, we're in the branding channel of my Amazon Live show. We've got video, a video clip folder now, and so we can put our video clips in there, and they can be up to 5 minutes long. I think, and I think I can't remember 100 megabytes maybe. But you can name them. So now, and also you can name your overlays, you can name your backgrounds. So it's become much easier for us to get organized, because before you're kind of like, I'm not sure which one this is. And so if you're if you're a remote producer, right, you can also have these multiple folders for these brands you're working with. So it makes it very easy for you to switch things around and to just streamline your production.
Definitely. So those updates, if you want to check those out, again, just if you're a StreamYard user, they'll show up in your panel. For example, they'll show up in the brand section. Again, backgrounds, overlays, and video clips. 3 different types of uses for live video. For example, an overlay is going to go over top of your video. So like right now, we could bring an overlay up that would go over top of these screens and make them look a lot more like we're not using an overlay right now. They would just look a lot better, or they could look a lot better You can add nice frames around things and so forth if you want to do that. The background basically right now on this broadcast, it's the green area behind things. So it goes behind all your content. So you've got you're basically just layering things. And then the third option is the video clips feature, where you can take a video and instead of, for example, sharing a browser tab where you get your browser and everything else that's going on in the browser, you literally are taking a file, uploading it to, in this case, the video clip section in StreamYard, and you're able to bring that up over top of everything and share that. And that's not an overlay. It's it's not really an overlay. It sort of is an overlay, but it's not. It's just basically like you play a video clip directly from StreamYard without all the other extraneous stuff that's there. So,
right.
Anything else you guys want to add about this?
Well, just something to remember, that one of the advantages to doing the video clips, as opposed to, say, for an example, sharing YouTube from your browser tab, is a lot of times then all of a sudden autoplay goes on and wants to start playing the next video.
Yeah.
And so if you really are going to do a short video, really take a hard look at clips. You can even download sometimes your YouTube video if you own it, as long as it's under 5 minutes, upload it as a video clip overlay, and you're off to the races.
And to download video clips, by the way, and I will say this, official YouTube video. So if it's your video that you own, you go into your YouTube dashboard, you click on your logo in the top right, you go to the Creator Studio option, and your videos under the video section will have the ability to download those videos so that you can have a saved copy. For example, if it was this live stream, we can download a copy of it after it's finished. But definitely, again, don't go downloading other people's videos. Not what that's for. It's for you to download your own content. So anything else you want to add on this, Kevin? Anything else before we?
StreamYard is just good and simple and easy to use. I use it in Ecamm Live. They're completely different programs. But if somebody has zero tech knowledge and they want to try it out, you ought to try out StreamYard. It's just, Gage and those guys have done a great job of creating something that is just simple to use to get your message out. So it's and play with it. I mean, do a record only and just get the hang of it and practice it, and you'll go, oh, okay, that's what that does. And then hit that live button, go.
So I have one question for you real quick, Kevin, in terms of picking a live video platform. So every platform, and this is to help our viewers, so every platform, is somewhat unique. For example, if you want to build everything from scratch, you could use a Wirecast. If you want everything that's there for you, StreamYard's fantastic for that. If you don't want to pay for anything, you can go, and just use Facebook or YouTube. You can go to Facebook Live or YouTube Live. How do you think people, when they're building this, should they build around the platform, or should they build their show and then find the platform that works? What's your take on that?
I think that's a great question. I never thought about that, but I think I would build the show first and then see if the platform works. I mean, I've tried OBS before. I don't like it. I don't get it.
Right.
If Mr. and Mrs. OBS are watching, I apologize, but I just don't like it.
While we're at it, I tried Wirecast as well. I love the fact that I can completely customize my broadcast, but it is a very heavy application to use. You have to have not just the internet, but you have to have the machine that can power that. So I'd say, again, Jim, I think you and I talked about this before. You have to kiss quite a few frogs in this case, but to find the one that actually works. But I love your point there, Kevin. Yes, like take your show, script it out, and then figure out which platform will fit for that. And hopefully, by the way, you do pick a platform that doesn't get bought out, because that is a trend that is happening as well. I've actually had that happen before, and it's a little frustrating, but
not fun.
Not so bad. No. Okay. So I know we have a couple other social media topics that we want to talk about this week, but in the interest of time, I want to make sure that we give you plenty of time to hear from Kevin. So what we're going to do now is we're going to switch to Act 2 of Social Chatter, and that's where we get to ask some questions to our guest. So, Jim, do you want to kick things off with some questions for Kevin?
Absolutely. So, Kevin, what are some steps a business owner can take to develop a video strategy?
Well, first of all, I think you have to realize that video is the absolute best way to reach people, your employees, your customers, your potential customers, your community. It doesn't have to be expensive. It doesn't have to be, crazily produced. What did I see the other day that Mr. Beast, who's a huge YouTuber, spent like just this last month, $3 million on YouTube videos. I salute him, but I don't think I've spent that in a lifetime, probably even a fraction of that. But here's the thing. If you overthink it too much, and I do think you have to have an idea of like, who am I trying to reach and what can I say to them and why should they care? What problem am I fixing and all of that? But if you keep overthinking it too much, your competition is going to get out there and they're going to get out there and maybe it even just doesn't look great, but they're already getting attention and you're sitting there overthinking it. So I would say dive in and probably even start with platforms you're on. I don't believe in just chasing every platform and trying to be on everything and everything will work. It just doesn't. It just doesn't. And when I was the creative director at a Fox station here in Raleigh, I used to tell my team, we can be good on a lot of platforms, or we can be great on a few platforms. And we would play and try them out to see what we like. But if you're on Facebook and that's your main platform and you're loving it, use Facebook. Now, I think YouTube is the better play, and I think it should be your core strategy. But just try things and get out there. Look at the questions that people are asking you as a business. Turn those into videos.
Yeah.
I just went into puberty right in the middle of that. I'll say it. Turn those into video. Your customers are asking you stuff. And answer it. And then instead of just responding to that one customer, you may hit hundreds of customers, thousands of customers, even just in your community. And they're like, hey, you're a source for that information that, maybe I'll check you out some more.
Definitely. I think that's a very good point. And to that point as well, I mean, I look at it like this. Okay. So if if I like Apple products, for example, and they come out with Apple Watch version 1, it's going to be great. Sorry, I'll say great. It's going to be good.
No, it's going to be great.
It's not like, it's going to be great. It's not going to be perfect though. Here's the thing. I guess that's the point I want to get at. It's not going to be a perfect product when it initially comes out. However, what do? They launch the product, they get it on the market, and then what is version 2? Version 2. Then they're working with the design. For example, maybe they'll improve the battery. Maybe they're going to add a new feature. And it may seem like an incremental update, but if you look at the things that are successful, not just from an Apple standpoint, but pretty much every product, that's the way every company works, because they get that product out there, they then iterate on it with version 1, version 2, version 3, and then maybe they get to maybe in their roadmap, they say, you know what, after the 5th version, we're going to come out with a totally new design, for example. And that's because the technology and things like that have advanced. And it's the same thing with video. Put your first version of your video out there. Kevin, I know, when I started my YouTube channel, I'm at over 8 million plus views on my channel. And my first video sucked. It was really long. It could have been 5 minutes and it was 30 minutes. I didn't have a microphone. I was just using the webcam on the computer, trying to make it work. I didn't have good lighting. And, again, but it's okay, I did that. Hey, I got some traction. Hey, that gives me that boost of confidence to where then I want to make more videos because I was starting to see the ROI on that versus, as you mentioned, if I sit there and I wait until I get everything perfect, my competitor is going to come out there and they're going to basically steal your thunder.
Yeah.
So
I'd say jump in, be somewhat, I hate the word critical, but critical of your own stuff to learn and grow, but give yourself a lot of grace too. I think it's Sean Cannell who says, done is better than perfect any day, any day. And as a perfectionist, I need to remember that every day, get it out there. Well, I can tweak it a little bit more. It's it's old by then.
Right.
Yeah. No, absolutely. So Jem, what's the next question we have?
So Kevin, if a business wants to start creating videos, what are the types you think that they should do first?
I'm a big fan of testimonials. A
Okay.
big fan. I worked with a local builder that wanted to completely rebrand and everything like that. And he was reluctant, and he had so many people that just loved him, but he had never once asked them to write any, he had letters and everything like that. So I convinced him, let's go find some of the customers that love you and just ask them if they'll sit down and do some videos. And every one of them were like, I'd love to.
Mm-hmm.
And, if you're unsure about video, have somebody else talk about your product, have somebody else talk about your business, have somebody else talk about you. If they love you, they will. You just need to ask them. Another thing is about why you do what you do. Stories matter. Chris, you mentioned Apple. I mean, I'm an Apple guy. I'm a Google guy. I'm an Amazon guy, but I go to those things most for products, I guess, for Amazon. I love things about it.
Right.
My emotional attachment is probably because I can get it quick, and it's cheap. But, I like supporting local businesses. I'm a huge coffee shop fan. I'm missing going to coffee shops. And there's 2 or 3 I love because I know the owners. And I know if they go under, it's not just, well, we'll just close this shop because we got 5 more over here.
Yeah.
So I think sharing your story and why you do what you do and why you love what you do, and this can work for nonprofits too, is a great way. People don't want to see all about your products and how much they cost and how great they are. They don't really care. They can figure that out on Google.
Mm-hmm. They want to know, they can figure that out, and they want to know what the product can do for them. They want to know how it can help them get something done, for example, so it's not just about hey, here's my product, here's the cost of it. They don't care that it's $97 or $497 or, it's $1,500 worth of product for, $97. That doesn't matter. That's a typical pricing model that a lot of people use. They want to see what it can actually do for them. So, yeah.
Well, I just want to add, I love what Kevin brings up, because doing those testimonial videos, it goes back to building know, like, and trust. People want to do business with people, not with logos, not necessarily with brands. And so why does Kevin want to go to the coffee shop? Because he's made that human connection with those people. And their service might not even always be perfect, but it's because, if anything, maybe sometimes you can tell they're maybe having an off day, you're forgiving. They appreciate that sometimes, and it builds that customer loyalty. So I think that's a great point. Testimonial videos is very powerful.
And it may just be me, but I get a bigger kick out of the fact that an owner of a local restaurant or coffee shop knows my name far more than a bigger YouTuber or celeb may retweet me or something like that. I mean, that's cool. Rarely ever happens. But, the fact that you've made that connection, because it's people that you see, in your community and all over the place. And it's just cool. I feel like the norm of my local coffee shop, come
right?
No, it's cool. It's good though. I mean, and here's the thing, it's working together. It's not just about okay, I'm doing this just for my own benefit. I mean, for example, it's like people who influencers or supposed influencers that reach out to businesses and want free stuff. And they're like, hey, I'll give you, you give me free product and I'll give you, hey, exposure to 20,000 people, for example. That's not necessarily it's not the right thing for a business to do. Those people that are trying to do that, I mean, the supposed influencer needs to realize that people want, they don't care about them. The numbers don't matter to them.
Yeah. Well, and that's not a relationship either. That's just, I need something. Can you give it to me? I mean, that's what it is. It's,
right.
Because if you say no, that influencer is just going to move on to the next one in there. I'll say it, Rolodex.
Right. No, exactly. Do what?
Somebody will have to Google what the heck is a Rolodex? Is that a watch?
Yeah. A Rolex watch.
So,
right?
Jen, do we have another question for Kevin?
We do. Final question. Can you tell us 3 pieces of equipment that people want to have in their video kit.
So if they want to start making video, the funny thing is the most important part about video is audio. It just is. I believe that people will forgive just horrible video, but if they can't hear you, they'll move on. And let's face it, I mean, most businesses aren't so unique that they have the only product of something that's ever been invented. I mean, we started the show talking about, Instagram doing reels, which is just like something else. Audio doesn't have to be fancy. I would also recommend starting with the phone you have in your pocket. Yeah. And this is an iPhone 8 Plus. Yes, I want the new iPhone. But you know what? I look at my bank account and go, hey, this is paid for. It's just great.
Right.
I use this for client work. You can buy a little bitty lav microphone, which is just a clip-on microphone that will give you better sound. You can buy an extension. Like I have a little Rode mic that just plugs right in here. And, if I'm in a crazy noisy place, it'll pick up some of that, but it directs the sound. So I would say just an inexpensive mic. There's a great mic called a Boya that you can use on a DSLR and an iPhone, even an iPad. And I think it's $20. And it has the longest cord I've ever seen. I think it will go across the state of Texas. I haven't tried that, but I think it's that long.
Is that the BYM1, by the way?
Yes. Yeah.
Yep. $18 mic.
Yeah. It's crazy. It's absolutely crazy. And it has so many dual purposes. Another thing would be, though, if you're using like a smartphone, nothing wrong with that. I would get like a tripod. There's one I love called the Benro. It's Benro. It's a tripod selfie stick. It will extend way high, but what it'll do is you can hold it, it's not a gimbal, but it'll give you a little stability, but you can put it on, you can mount it somewhere and then use your hands. I do that a lot. So that's a small thing. It's a small investment. Again, I think it's like maybe $30 or something like that. But even if you put it around, it's got a little bitty mirror on the back so you could see yourself if you want to use the rear facing camera. Small Very things cool. Like that. Lighting. Here's the thing. I'm using a light right now, a big light, and I'll show you the difference if I turn it off. But you see this light right here? There's a window right there. So obviously I'm not placed perfectly, so I can turn that light to be better. But you know what? Natural light. If not, DIY it. Go to Home Depot, Lowe's, Ace, or somewhere and buy just a little bitty light, put an LED light in it, put something soft over it like a shower curtain. And all of a sudden you've got a decent light. So the things I would put in there, I would make sure your audio is decent, beyond decent if you can. Think of stabilizing if you're using your smartphone. You don't need to worry about lenses and stuff yet. And then lighting, just a good light, a lamp, an LED. I mean, like the lamp back there has just an LED bulb in it. It's not very bright, but it's an accent thing. If you feel like you want to upgrade to like a DSLR or mirrorless camera, don't jump to the high end. Start with something small. I'm a huge Canon fan. Canon has some low end cameras that are phenomenal. I mean, heck, the M50 at one point was under $500 with a lens. So those would be some things I would think about, and then if you're looking at programs and stuff like that, I'm a huge fan of Canva. Yes. You can do so much in Canva, from graphic designs to photo. Now they even have video in there. You don't need to spend a lot to make an absolute huge impact in the world.
Definitely. And the other thing also, I mean, so the microphone, so audio, for example, there should be no problem with somebody making, having good audio. Like if you pick up that $20 microphone, for example, that's $20.
Yeah.
And then the other option is the Rode Smart Lab as well that we talked about. That's $60, and both of those fantastic microphones. Now I will say, be careful if you say, hey, you know what, I'm going to buy another mic that's $15 or something like that. The ones we've actually tested. So we can tell you the Boya is a good mic. There are going to be other mics that come up, for example, on Amazon, and they're going to seem great, and they're actually not very good. Yeah. So the Boya, fantastic mic. I recommend pretty much any Rode mic. Those are fantastic. the tripod, for example, I mean, we're talking what, like 40, 50 bucks maybe at the most for audio and stabilization. Now, in addition to that, getting creative, and I love your idea, by the way, go to Home Depot. You know, people that want to go invest in a really nice lighting kit, for example, you go to Home Depot and buy some really nice clamp lights that you can just clamp onto, you know, a pole or something like that. Yeah. And they work fantastic. Yeah. So there's no need to go spend hundreds or even thousands of dollars for lighting. A lot of people, they buy that stuff, they have it, and they never use it. I mean, I'll even tell you, I have a green screen kit that I never use.
Oh, yeah. Well, that's what we do. We think we need it, we buy it, and then we sell it in a year later for a loss on eBay. That's what I do. The mic I'm using right now is it's called an Audio Technica ATR 2100.
Yeah, $100.
Yeah, actually, it's. I think I got it for 70.
Nice.
And it's a USB and an XLR mic if you need that. So I've got it plugged into my computer with a USB, and it comes with the cords and the little stand. And at one point, it was, I think, like 60 something bucks, and it's got a great sound.
Yep.
So you don't have to spend a lot. But even if you were going to just use the FaceTime camera on your laptop, and if that's all you have, that's okay. Spend 40, 50 bucks and get a USB mic and plug it in there, and it's going to sound so much better. So much better.
Definitely. And to that point about the ATR 2100, one thing I want to make sure we impress upon viewers is that it is a USB microphone to start. And if you want to up your game, the next type of connection you use is an XLR microphone, and it's going to require having an audio interface. For example, I'm running through an audio interface right now, but you know, that mic, it for $100 allows you to grow. Yeah. So you use the USB mic side, you get comfortable, you get some views on your channel, you start to get that strategy more refined. Then you get up to the you know, the XLR connection of it. So definitely something worth checking out. Yeah. Do we have time for tool time, Jim?
I have time if Kevin has time.
Kevin? I've got time. Perfect. So here's what we're going to do. So we're now on to Act 3 of the show. And what we're going to do is we're going to share with you 2 tools. I realize Kevin shared a ton of tools, by the way. All right. We're going to make sure we put those, by the way, we're going to already ask him to send us some bullets that we can put in the blog post that we published this weekend. This way we can make sure we highlight all of those tools, all that equipment, and along with all the tips that he shared as well. So what we're going to do is we're going to switch over to tool time. So Jem, where do you want to go first with tool time?
So let's talk about the Zoom tool that just recently came out.
So what is this? It's you know, I think it's a $600 piece of equipment.
Yeah, you've got your own built-in Zoom for Home monitor that they've got it all ready for you to go. You got it?
I do actually. Sorry, I canceled that by accident, but here you go.
Yeah.
So here we go. We've got the Zoom DTEN, it's the DTEN Solutions Zoom for Home. So $600 device. Very cool. By the way, I also want to, before we go into this, Jem, I want to bring this up. So apparently Scott says that he just became your 1,000th subscriber on YouTube. So way to go. Congrats on reaching 1,000. Thank you, Scott.
I'm going to fix my hair just for you. I appreciate that. I love Scott. Super guy. Super guy. Thank you, dude.
The tool one, it's the D10 for Zoom product, $600 device. This is actually pretty nice, I think. I mean, what do you guys think about this one?
It looks a little bit like an iMac, almost. Got a little bit of that look, thin screen. I mean, I think it's nice, but for $600, I mean, I'd save my money and I'd get an iMac. I mean, I don't sometimes understand why we want to get another device when the devices we have can already do the job. So, I mean, if that's the only thing you're going to use it for, great. But I think you're going to put yourself into some limitations down the road. But for some people, that might make sense because maybe they don't want to, you know, upgrade their laptop, and then if they're just going to use this for, you know, as they call it, the personal collaboration device for your home office. I mean, it's not bad, but
I will say this: it's the same problem that I see. We talked about this at the beginning of the show from a social media perspective. there's too many things too many shiny objects, too many things for people to be focusing on. In this case, it's a great looking device. 8 microphones. It's got like a 3-camera array setup. It's a touch screen. Fantastic. Except to Jem's point, I've already got some of this equipment probably. So do I necessarily need a $600 device?
No.
I can easily upgrade it. For example, if I'm running in some of the iMacs, for example, you can upgrade the RAM or the hard drive in the machine for less than $600.
Yeah.
So I could easily upgrade that. Hey, I want to get a new camera. If I want, I could easily spend that $500, for example, and even have 100 left and get the M50. And now I have a camera that I can use for Zoom, but I could also use for all my other live projects or any pre-recorded videos I want to make. What do you think, Kevin?
Yeah, I agree. I'm not that familiar with this product, but I think the danger with anything is, there are some things that have a singular use, but I just recently bought the Rode NTG, the new mic, looks like a little mini shotgun. Well, not only can I use it as a boom, and I have for interviews, I can mount it on my camera. I can use it as a USB because it's a USB out. So all of a sudden, one mic now gave me 3 different usages, which could eliminate 2 other things. So I think this is fine. But I agree. I got an iPad mini that I can do multiple things, like read on it, message on it. I use it as a monitor a lot from my camera.
Yep.
Which was, and maybe that wasn't as cheaper as a monitor I'm out on my camera, but I can do more with it in the long run. So
exactly. You can make a teleprompter out of it. Again, installing a few apps.
Yep.
And you've got a very useful teleprompter. So that's the DTEN Zoom for Home. So it's $599 if you all need something like that. Now, the second tool, Jim, I'm going to let you introduce this one. What is the second tool? So we talked about buying, obviously, a new camera, but Kevin said, hey, you've got an iPhone, for example. Why not use that if you're starting making videos? What's your new tool here?
So it's I can't remember how to say the first word because it's a long word. That's the Marine in me. But I call it the Camo. It's an app. You can download it for free. Unfortunately, for all you Android users out there, it is just for the iPhone. So you might want to think about some of those Apple products. The beauty of this is right now, go to Logitech's website and try to buy a webcam. Good luck with that. But if you want to be able to take not only your iPhone, but even your iPad with this app, and there's a free version and there's a pro version, you can literally turn your iPad or your iPhone into a webcam on your computer, Windows or Mac. You just have to plug it in through a USB cord connected to your phone. The beauty of this is now you're getting the power of the camera on these phones or these tablets is probably sometimes even better than some of these webcams. Not quite to some of the cameras like the Canon M50, but if you've got a long enough cord, now you can put this on a tripod, and you can even switch it to your back camera. So as an example, don't get mad at me, Kevin. I have the iPhone 11 Pro.
Dang it.
So when I can literally switch it to any of the 3 back cameras, so I can go wide, I can go narrow. The other thing is this will work in StreamYard as a camera source. So if I wanted now to use my iPhone as a camera source on my computer or my iPad, put it maybe in an Akron mount, it gives me some new creative capabilities. Like maybe I'm just like, okay, I want to show a whiteboard, right? And I can be bringing that into StreamYard as my main camera. I could be standing in front of it using one of these mic that Kevin is talking about. And I've come up with a whole new way to present that maybe the webcam kind of limits me to. So I think it's definitely worth checking out. They do have a subscription model. It's about $40 a year, but it gives you a lot more things where you can zoom in and out from your desktop. But if you're having a problem getting a camera, this is a great interim solution. So $40 investment to wait a year to figure out what is next is a lot better than, getting ripped off on somebody trying to sell you a C920 for $200.
Yeah. Which you will never make that money back ever.
Right. No. I will say this. The other thing I like about this is it's about repurposing what you have. So for example, yes, you spend $40 for the ability to use your phone as a webcam, for example, but you do get to tap into, I mean, if you've paid that money, why not use the device to its fullest advantage? And I think the big thing is a lot of people barely scratch the surface on their iOS devices. I love my iPhone, love my iPads, like, you know, but the thing is a lot of people, they don't go beyond just the, hey, I use it to check email, I use it for the web, and I use it for the phone, you know, for the phone capability. And I check my social media accounts, things like that. They're not actually, you know, using a lot of that functionality that's there. So a lot of these devices, I mean, they're extremely powerful. It's just about coming up with the right workflows to make them work for you. And a lot of times that's really as simple as, for example, we talked about, you know, using your iPhone, for example, to film a video. Well, you know, hey, there's some apps that I spend $10 on the app and it will unlock a lot of that potential. In this case, it's $40 for the year, you know, and you don't know when people are going to get webcams available, but definitely something worth checking out. Anything else you guys want to add on Reincubate Camo? Okay.
No, you know, check out the free version if you want. You know, it's kind of free forever. So if you find that some of the added features with the Pro is something you really need, but I was very impressed how easy it was for me to use. And then there's another app I just recently found out about too called IV Cam. Maybe we'll talk about that on a future thing. But if anyone knows, love to see it in the comments, because I have some Android friends that have asked, hey, is there something that I can use to use my Android phone as a webcam? Unfortunately, I don't have an Android phone. No. Well, I don't know if I say unfortunately. I just don't have it.
So Kevin, I want to thank you so much for joining us this week. I mean, it's been fantastic having you on, dropping all of the knowledge about, you know, if a business wants to get into using or making videos, where should they start? You know, so love all the tips you shared. We'll make sure we put those in the blog post recap that will go out this weekend at socialchefs.com/SC252. If people want to get in touch with you, where do they go about doing that?
Probably the best place would be my website, kevinkolbe.com. And then from there's things I've done, how we can work together, social media, also on YouTube at Kevin Kolbe, and most other platforms at Kevin Kolbe Media.
Fantastic.
I'd love to connect with people, so hit me up.
Awesome.
Definitely. So next Thursday, we're going to have Scott Ayers joining us, 11 a.m. Eastern Standard Time from Agora Pulse. We've had him on quite a bit, but we're going to have him on again. Always great hearing from him, hear what's going on from a data perspective. He does a lot of social media experiments, so we'll see what he's up to. But with that, we're going to wrap up this week's show. I want to thank everybody for watching. Jim, thanks again for co-hosting with me, you know, and letting us talk social media news and whatnot. And Kevin, thanks a lot for joining us.
Thanks for having me, guys. Loved it. Absolutely loved it.
We will see you all next week. Have a good weekend, everyone. Thanks for watching.